Yeah. It's Friday. It's Friday. You made it. You made it through another work week. Some of you guys are like, I work weekends, you butthole. Yeah, I know that life. I know that life. I was a server. I waited the tables for a long time. Weekends used to be my work week, you know what I mean? Anyway, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Friday stream. Welcome to the Friday show. Got a good one for you today. Want to talk about Marvel Comics. Want to talk about Kevin Feige. We'll get into some bits of news here and there. We'll, of course, do gambling. And the gambling is on for all of you gamblers. I guess I should make sure it's working, huh? Is it working? I think it's working, yeah. Maybe everybody's just not gambling because they're like, no, I've learned my lesson. I will no longer lose my nerd coin. Maybe I got to reset the cloud bot. It doesn't seem to be working, huh? Chet, what are you doing, bud? All right, let me reset it. Hang on. Let's turn it off. And let's turn it on. Did that work? Hashtag no gambling. Trinity, what, like, you a Mormon or something? What's going on? Drop us 10K. I don't know if I'll drop 10K, but let's see. Let's do 3,000 because I love you all 3,000. And then let's do another 3,000. Ah, there you go. Boom. Dropping it like it's hot. Hopefully it works. Is it now gambling? Is it working or not? Is it not working? What the fuck, dude? It's still not working? Bro. It's like already hard enough to like get streams and videos and schedules and things of that nature. I reset it again. Hopefully it resets itself. It's like already hard enough. It's already hard enough to do all this shit. I don't need the basic shit that I do to not work. Why doesn't this shit work? Streamlabs, what the fuck? Ah! God damn. How do we get this shit to work? Because it's not even working at all, right? The cloud bot is not working at all. I just want to confirm. The cloud bot is not working at all. Yes? It's not working in any way, shape, or form. Can we get a confirmation on that? Jesus! Really? Wow. Okay, well, that's not how I wanted to start Friday. I'll look into it. Maybe they changed something. It's something I got to do or something. I don't know. It's a bunch of bullshit. It's a bunch of bullshit if you ask me. Anyway, we'll get it sorted. We'll figure it out. I hope you guys are having a good Friday. I hope you guys are having a good start to 2023. I had a decent week, decent start to it. We got some of the stuff done that I wanted to this week. Not everything. Let me get you a couple of show notes. Oh, I could drop the coin. I don't think it's going to work at all. Yeah, it's Friday. Isn't that crazy, dude? A couple of things. So tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., we're doing a watch party with the Nerd Vengers. And I think Elisa and Liam might try to join me as well. So we'll do a watch party, and we're going to watch some Star Wars Rebels together. Speculate about Thrawn. Speculate about Ezra. Speculate about Ahsoka. And all of that. So if you guys come on by, if you're a Nerd Venger member, I will drop the link for you. You'll see it in the membership tab. We'll also put it on the Discord. So you can come on in, enjoy a little watch party, Saturday morning cartoons. That should be really, really fun. Also, I am going to do a stream today for the Prime members at 1 p.m. However, I have to cut that stream just a little bit short. We have to take Liam into the doctor's. Hopefully, I think everything's fine. But he has something going on, and we called the doctor about it yesterday, and they were like, oh, actually, you should bring him in immediately. So I'm not really worried about it. I think it's going to be fine, but I do have to kind of get out of here because I have to get ready and go to his appointment. And then as far as videos and whatnot are concerned, we did a big video yesterday about the Sentry and why he's so overpowered. Go check that video out. I think it's really cool. It's different than a lot of videos we do on the channel. And you know, yesterday it didn't perform super well, but I think over time, if people check it out and get interested in just how crazy the Sentry is from Marvel Comics, I think the video will do well. I'll talk more about that on the Prime stream also. But we have a big Secret Wars video coming out. That should drop tomorrow. And there's actually a lot of stuff that I'm trying to make videos on. You know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff I'm trying to make videos on. A lot of crazy things going on behind the scenes. So look out for more content coming at you over the weekend and next week. And yeah, I think that's all of the show notes and all the news and everything like that. So let's get into talking about Kevin Feige and Marvel Comics. And I want to sort of make this a community discussion because I'm really curious as far as the people in this community, where are you guys at with comic books? So how about this? Oh, yeah, we need more likes. What the hell? Matthew Colin, that's a good point. We need more likes. Here's what I want to do. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to start with. I'm putting in a Q&A. And it says, have you been reading Marvel Comics recently? Why or why not? Because I really want to know if a lot of people in our community read Marvel Comics, and if they don't, why? If they do, why? Because I even saw some people talking about this like in the chat earlier and on Twitter and things of that nature. Some people think that modern comics are just not good. And so they don't read modern comics, and they're a little less enthusiastic about Feige using modern comics to sort of cherry pick for his stories. So I just kind of want to know why. I want to know if that's like a belief that's out there. I want to kind of understand it because I have my own takes and things that I want to get to. But I think starting in a good area would be cool. So some people say no, I haven't, but I want to read more. Currently reading The Ultimates by Al Ewing. That's a good run. Not so much reading, but I watch all of Rob's coverage on Comics Explained. Interesting. I bought my first comic because of the Marvel movie, Secret Invasion. Okay, interesting. No, because I'm not a nerd. Ha 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 ha. Hey, what? You're literally a nerd Venger. How do you square that? Too many good older comics. So no, if you mean recent ones, yes for older comics. Okay, well, Carl, tell me in chat, bro. Do you regularly read your old school comics, or is it just like you used to read comics, you have fond memories of those stories, and you just kind of leave them behind? That's what I'm curious about. Newer Marvel is woke. Okay, that's really interesting, Tim. I want to touch on that in a second, okay? Because I don't agree. I don't. Some of it is, for sure. And some of the stuff, I mean, all new, all different Marvel definitely was. But I do that comment that Tim just made is an important piece of the puzzle that I want to sort of digest. Do you digest puzzles? John says, after all new, all different, Systoles, after all new, all different. What does that mean? I don't know what that means. Okay, let's keep going here. Yes, I'm reading Hickman in prep for Phase 5 and 6. Not yet, but I'm trying to start recommendations you gave me to prepare for Secret Wars. That's cool. Jessica says, not recently. I left when the identity politics story started. Okay, again, that's important. We're going to talk about that. Davey Johnson says, I have, but not the new ones. It just seems like some flavor has been lost. Interesting. Kendall says, yeah, I've been reading the Timeless Kang run. It just takes 2 issues to get into the story. Yeah, well, the new Timeless run, I think, only has 2 issues, right? Or it started out as a one-shot or something like that. Jonathan says, no, not really sure where to jump in, or not really sure where to jump in, and I have a whole bunch of free time as a full-time employee, and oh, you don't have a bunch of free time. Okay, gotcha. Never really read the comics, just never got into them. The MCU was my intro into the world. Okay, yes, so some are better than others, just waiting the return of Jonathan Hickman. I've been watching Rob's videos of the new comics. Does that count? Sort of. By the way, little side note on that. Obviously, like, I really like Rob. I think his stuff's great. But back in the day, because I used to work in comics, right? And I used to, like, go on what they called, like, a circuit, basically, where you'd go to all these different conventions and you try to sell your books. And, like, the indie comics grind is, like, really crazy. And I worked for, like, a small press publisher. So, you know, it was really, like, a startup kind of culture. But, bro, a lot of the people that I work with in comics, they hated Rob. They hated Rob. They hated the whole idea of his channel. They were like, no, this is... You got to read the comics. Rob is preventing people from reading the comics. So it's kind of interesting. Anytime I see people say, no, I don't read the comics, I just watch Rob. It's kind of weird. I was like, man, were those people right back in the day? Leon says, not really. I don't know a legit site wherever to read. I want it for free. I've been reading more manga than anything. Interesting. I am Donovan says, no, I'm older, so I don't enjoy comics. I'm a long form reader, but I usually enjoy visual media. Okay. Too many different kinds. I've started getting into the modern ones. Nah, too much good streaming content. Not enough time for comics. Just listen to Rob. Interesting. No, because I don't know where to start. Let's see here. I'm behind on stuff. Heroes Reborn, 96-ish version was Franklin Richards coming out. Party. The 2021 version was a Squadron Supreme. Mixed with the 96 version. Probably be great. I started reading comics recently, but I've been reading most of the stuff that you have me edit for videos, so not much of the new stuff. Okay, roger that. Where's a good place to start? Read some old ones based on recommendations. Yes, but not new ones. Some flavor has been lost. I'm not sure. More excited for the MCU. Yes, I read a lot, but not more recent comics. I didn't read comics until the MCU started. Now I read the comics, and the upcoming MCU stuff is based on Secret Invasion. Is sick. Very cool. I read DC Comics, but see Marvel movies. Interesting. I started reading Marvel Unlimited, but I have to start from the early stories. I still like reading them because I never got into comics and really want to catch up. They're too expensive and only like 7 pages long. Nice. Click Clack says, been reading a lot of the 90s stuff. Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee stuff. 90s X-Men is lit. That's true. I like the 90s era a lot. Frex says, never opened a Marvel comic except some Spidey comics. Wokeness and identity politics are preventing me from reading them. Okay, again, that comes up, and I will address all of that, too. Nah, I read manga and caught up on One Piece, reading Bleach, Hunter x Hunter, Berserk. Interesting. Excelsior Review says, yes, I read both DC and Marvel. Both have a lot of meh books, sometimes really good books. Woke stuff can get too much sometimes. And I just can't get past it. Love the channel. Thanks, man. I haven't read comics since the 90s. No time to read. Reading from no desire to read them seems increasingly irrelevant. Interesting. Not unless there's an audiobook version. Yes, but I read graphic novels. I read a few, read the classics. Haven't kept on the comics themselves. In general, the exception of The Walking Dead. Corey says, I want to read the big event, but don't know how or which to get into first. Okay, so we'll call it there. We'll call it there as far as the Q&A. And I wanted to ask that question. I wanted to get some context for everybody because, look, here's the thing. I love comics. I think comics is an incredible medium. And I remember, again, because I was literally working in comics at the time, that when, like, Marvel and the Marvel Cinematic Universe was kind of heating up in the first couple of phases, you would think that you would see this incredible crossover into comics and that comics themselves would have thrived. But that's not what happened. And that's not what... And there's a couple of different reasons as to why this didn't happen, actually. And one of the reasons that this didn't happen was because of all new, all different Marvel, and also just because of, at a base level, the characters that you were going to go see in the movie theaters were actually different than the characters you'd go see in the comic shop, right? So, you know, we'll get into the wokeness stuff because I do think that's a really interesting topic that I want to touch on and explain why I think things are frankly different now. But at a base level, man, you'd go in to see the Avengers movie, right? You'd go see Age of Ultron or, even like Civil War or whatever, right? And you'd like all these characters. And then you'd go on the shelf and you'd be like, wait, Tony Stark's dead? It's Riri Williams? You'd be like, oh, man, I love Steve Rogers. This shit's dope. And then you come back and be like, oh, Steve Rogers is actually a Hydra agent Nazi now. And you're like, what? Like, and, again, you'd like these characters in the movies, and then you'd go to try to read them in the comics, and there was no crossover there. And I think that was a massive mistake on the part of Marvel overall. This could have been something because I think that the companies were kind of separated at that point. Like, when Feige gets out from under Perlmutter and kind of makes his own way, he doesn't have to care about the comics as much. And therefore, he's doing his own thing, and he also has no say in what Marvel Comics is doing, right? And so at sort of a base level, I felt like there was this incredible missed opportunity to have this big booming achievement of cinema, this sort of the new zeitgeist, like the new big thing with Marvel and the Marvel phases. And yet, comics seem to be purposely not putting any of that shit into their books. There's no way for a sort of normie cinema fan, a MCU fan, to come into the comic shop and get anything that resembles the shit they like. It wasn't possible back then. Now, as far as the wokeness stuff is concerned, this is kind of interesting because, obviously this kind of a discussion, you're going to trigger certain people, and I think certain people are going to get really, really upset about, what's happening or how to frame it. And look, I just got to tell you, I had a very unique perspective during what was going on with the Marvel Comics stuff, because not only was I working in comics, but I actually worked with some people like Heather Antos. I literally worked with her on a project, right? And if you're in the comic scene, or you were like a comics gator, or you were like really against, SJW Marvel and the woke Marvel and stuff like that, you'll know who Heather Antos is, and you're probably triggered as fuck. The thing is, man, a lot of times culture war stuff gets really overblown, or people will point it out in a way that feels very like cheerleader, like this is my team, and it's like low-hanging fruit. There's not a lot of I think actual truth to some of these claims. However, when it comes to Marvel Comics, and when it comes to all new, all different Marvel, bro, that shit was the epitome of woke ideologies taking over. Taking over. And a lot of it had to do with a lot of editors who were kind of work wives. This sort of new crop of talent, and I'm not speaking here from from a bird's eye view. I don't know, this is what I'm thinking. No, dude, I know these motherfuckers, so I'm telling you exactly what happened. You had a sort of new crop of young people that became close to editors like Tom Brevoort, that then got a lot of control and power and absolutely injected identity politics into a ton of different things. On top of that, this was a time when a lot of people at Marvel, and I think just in the wider sort of internet conversation bubbles, were absolutely all about flaunting identity politics and saying that it was absolutely the right thing to do and that it was 100% the move. And the reality is, all new, all different Marvel was an incredibly damaging thing to Marvel Comics. And, we just pulled up, right, that whole Q&A thing that we did. And you'll notice, if you're just hanging and you saw the comments that came in, that a lot of people said, I'm not going to read modern comics. Modern comics are woke. And the reason I don't check out modern comics is because of that thing, that woke narrative, that all new, all different Marvel. And the reality is, regardless of how you feel about identity politics, it's pretty unfucking deniable that Marvel sales and Marvel Comics sales were hurt really, really badly by that time period. Like, that shit was very damaging. Comics also have a lot of other problems than just this thing. Like, I think the price point is a very interesting one. I think the sort of piecemealing out of stories is an interesting one. There's a lot of fluff in modern comics. They don't like actually have like a ton of story in each particular issue, and especially because the price seems to just keep going up. The quality of art seems to kind of be, base level or dropping, because Marvel is literally in the practice of hiring cheaper, newer artists. That is absolutely something that they do. Comics is also, just generally speaking, not a very accessible form of media. You walk into a comic shop, or like a lot of people said in the chat, I don't know where to begin, or I don't know the jumping off point. Bro, it's 75 years of convoluted canon, retcons, reboots, and all these different things. I can't blame you. It's ridiculous to try to like get into comics and understand the whole grand scope of it. So comics have a lot of problems. It's not just all new, all different Marvel. It's not just identity politics. But you guys, I think a lot of you guys know, I try to be super fair about this stuff. A lot of the stuff that gets brought up in commentary about identity politics is bullshit. This particular thing is not bullshit. It was real. It damaged the fuck out of an entire industry, and Marvel is still recovering from it. Okay? That's just one man's opinion, but that's how I sees it, okay? Now, there were moves already being made, because here's the punchline. Here's the punchline. Let me just skip ahead to the punchline a little bit. Modern comics, especially Marvel, are better than they've been in years. Probably better than they've been since like 2012 to 2015. Literally. Modern comics right now for Marvel, I'm having more fun reading modern comics right now than I've had in a long, long time. The punchline is a lot of the issues and the problems that turned a lot of people away are no longer super prevalent at Marvel, because money talks and changes were being made. Now, one of the changes they made was to bring in CB Cebulski and sort of replace Axel as, wasn't that the dude's name? Axel? Somebody help me out here. If Trinity's in here, he'll know the dude's name. So bringing in Tom Brevoort, Axel Alonso, yeah, getting rid of Axel and bringing in Tom Brevoort was sort of the first move to take modern comics in kind of a different direction, which was literally just, and they didn't like sort of vocalize this, but you can see it in the way that the works are. It was to not so much make a focus on identity politics and replacing legacy characters, but to getting back to the fun shit, right? So like a lot of the stuff that happened, even when Brevoort just came in, it's just super fun, dude. Like Kate's Venom run, it's just super fun. Is there some political stuff in there, identity politics? Yeah, there's some stuff in there, but the focus of the book is on Noel and the dopeness and the King in Black and all that kind of shit. It's really fun, right? Same thing goes with Kate's Thor, with Banner of War, with a lot of these different things. It's just really fun Marvel stuff. And so you essentially have like Brevoort coming in and trying to right the ship. But then in 2019, and this is where, this is where we really want to focus, is that in 2019, Kevin Feige becomes the CCO of all of Marvel, the chief creative officer of all of Marvel. And by the way, I know that there are probably people that are, CC Cebulski, not Brevoort. So there are a lot of people out there that probably have different opinions about some of the stuff I'm saying. We will get into it. We'll get into the thing. I'll listen to hear what you want to say, all of that. But, just let me cook a little, okay? So, Kevin Feige becomes Chief Creative Officer at Marvel, now overseeing film, TV, and publishing. Let's read a little bit of this. This was from 2019. October 15th, 2019. Aw, shit. Y'all remember the days? Y'all remember the days? Yeah, we're going to do call-ins. We're going to try, okay? I'm a little bit behind. We're already going too slow. Okay, and I got to get the fuck out of here. I've got things to do today. We gotta take him to the doctor and shit, okay? So everybody just relax. Okay. Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige already has one of the most impressive resumes in Hollywood history, shaping the Marvel Cinematic Universe from the ground up and becoming one of the most successful producers of all time. In the process. But now he's even more powerful because a new report says he will serve as Marvel Entertainment's chief creative officer, overseeing all of the company's film, TV, and publishing. That's a huge increase in responsibility for him and hopefully doesn't lead to a lackluster Phase 4. And now he has the power to cause an even bigger ripple across multiple industries. Deadline reports that Feige will become Marvel's new chief creative officer and that his oversight will now extend to the overall creative direction of Marvel storytelling and content creation platforms, including not just film, but TV and comics as well. The company's key creatives in those departments will now all report directly to him. In the Marvel TV and animation branch, Marvel Family Entertainment are shifting under the Marvel Studios umbrella. Historically, Feige has only been in control of films, although he's about to dip his toe into TV waters with Marvel's upcoming Disney Plus TV shows like Loki, She-Hulk, Moon Knight, WandaVision, etc. Hopefully that goes well. But with the restructuring of the company, his powers will grow substantially. There are several key points worth discussing here. Let's break them down one by one. Okay, and actually, we don't even need to break that shit down. I just wanted to bring up the fact that, and by the way, here's what I need from you. If somebody in chat can find me an article like this one, but for the comic sales of 2022, that would be most appreciated. Because here's another article that was published early 2020 that talked about the comic sales from 2019. Okay? Marvel Comics 2019 sales figures demonstrate the scale of the challenge facing Marvel's chief creative officer, Kevin Feige. Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige has become something of a legend in Hollywood. He's the mastermind behind the MCU and frankly appears to be a darling of Disney Pictures. In his autobiography, The Ride of a Lifetime, Disney CEO Bob Iger rhapsodies over Feige's skill and creative vision. In October, Feige was officially promoted to Chief Creative Officer of Marvel Entertainment. This expanded his remit. That's a weird word, meaning he's no longer responsible only for the MCU's blockbuster films and upcoming Disney Plus TV series. That means he has oversight on creative, editorial, and narrative decisions across all mediums, including the comics themselves. I don't quite mean he's now in charge of Marvel Entertainment. Marvel's controversial and reclusive chairman, Ike Perlmutter, is still in the picture. I think at this point he's been super sidelined, but at the time, this was indeed a thing where Perlmutter was still, he had a pretty significant seat at the table still. No doubt, his first corporate priorities is establishing synergy between Marvel's big screen success and their comic book sales. Unfortunately, the 2019 comic book sales figures demonstrate this the scale of Feige's challenge. On the face of it, they're good news for Marvel, who dominate in weekly releases. No less than the 7 of the top 10 books are Marvel. So you had Detective Comics 1, Spawn 300, X-Men 1, Black Cat, DC's number 1, which I actually loved that run, man. DC's was fun. Absolute Carnage number 1, Marvel Comics number 1000, House of X number 1, Powers of X, those should be higher. Those were great. And War of the Realms. But a careful look at this list demonstrates the massive problem. There's essentially no identifiable synergy between the comics and the latest Marvel movies, which takes us back to the beginning of this stream. One of the biggest missed opportunities from the Marvel Infinity Saga was that it did not have any connection or crossover with the comic books. 2019 was the biggest year in the history of the MCU, with the releases of Captain Marvel, Avengers Endgame, and Spider-Man Far From Home. Together, these 3 films grossed over $5 billion in the global box office, with Avengers Endgame breaking Avatar's record as the highest grossing movie of all time. Avatar would later take that back. And yet, for all that's the case, There's no evidence of this success in the comics themselves. Captain Marvel may have made 1.1 billion, but she's entirely absent from the top 10. Kelly Thompson's 2019 relaunch got off to a strong start in February ahead of the character's MCU debut, but it's since been overtaken by the X-Men. As well it should, honestly. Fuck that, X-Men are great. But the point still remains. And so this is an article from way back then talking about the synergy, talking about bringing this all together, okay? Now, I want to briefly talk about some of the best comics from 2022, and I want to talk about why I think modern comics, especially modern Marvel books, are better than they've been in a long, long time, and that the synergy between what Kevin Feige is cherry-picking to put into the MCU and really great comics coming out on the regular will be such a beautiful thing. As somebody who loves comics, does not want comics to go the way of the dodo, and wants them to be a strong industry, you have to understand that the big two, even if you love indie shit, if the big two completely fall off, there is no comics industry. You need the big players to be succeeding and pushing and doing well in order to have a thriving indie market as well. That's a really, really important part of the whole thing. Okay? So I want to talk about some of these comics because some of them I've read and they're absolutely incredible. Some of them I have not read and I want to read. Okay? Now, this right here, dude, Benjamin Percy, who by the way, has a voice that, like, literally he sounds like this. If you ever hear him at a con, he'll come out. It's actually deeper. It's deeper than this. And I don't know. I can't do it, but this is how he talks. It's pretty amazing, actually. If you ever go watch a video with him or like, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Anyway, here we go. So Wolverine, absolutely incredible book. I've read a lot of this Wolverine run. I'm not current on it, but damn, Wolverine, absolutely incredible. What Percy's been doing with Wolverine, and it's sort of in the midst of the Hickman X-Men stuff. It's literally been the best that Wolverine, and in my opinion, the X-Men have been in a long, long time. It's amazing, bro. Strange highlighted Clea at Sorcerer Supreme. I read The Death of Strange. It was dope. I haven't read a lot of the Clea stuff, so I can't really comment on it, but people like it. X Deaths of Wolverine set Moira McTaggart on her new course. This book was absolutely crazy. And a lot of the stuff that was just going on with Krakoa, Akakro, and, there's some really crazy stuff going on with X-Men just in general, but yes, this book was cool. Now, here's one that I haven't read, but it is apparently amazing. And I love Al Ewing, so I imagine it probably is absolutely incredible. The Defender Beyond is Cosmic Marvel excellent. I'm putting this on the list. I'm going to read the fuck out of Defenders Beyond. I didn't even really know it was going on, but there's some recent stuff that's coming out where, like, somebody even brought this up yesterday, I think, where they said there's a new thing that says that the Beyonders are not only still around, but that they made the Celestials like the gardeners of the multiverse or something like that. And so, look, there's some just really interesting stuff. A lot of Al Ewing stuff that he did in Ultimates and, like, the stuff with, like, the first Firmament, who actually gets brought up in the most recent issue of Avengers Forever. That stuff is dope. And I do think that we're getting an Eternity Saga. We're going really crazy with the Cosmic. And I think if they replicate Eternity Wars with, like, a Lifebringer Galactus, the Infinite, the first Firmament, the Builder, interesting characters like that, like, you'll go back and read Defenders Beyond to get filled in on some of the characters and some of the explanation for what that is, okay? So I haven't actually read this one, but I've heard very good things. Bro, Savage Avengers. Yes, Jack. I understand that Hickman no longer writes X-Men, but it's still called the Hickman X-Men. Because what happened was he killed everything. They canceled all the X-Men books. And they started in 2019 with nothing but Hickman books. And now it all spins out of the ideas that Hickman had. So I understand, Jack, that it's technically not Hickman anymore because Hickman's actually working on the next big crazy Marvel event, which I personally think will bring the first firmament back and is going to do some crazy cosmic stuff, which will probably be cherry-picked in the next 5 years in the MCU. But yes, that is a fair point. Savage Avengers, yo, let me just tell you something. If you haven't read Savage Avengers, it is fucking phenomenal, dude. If you just like fun, just badass Marvel characters, I'm telling you right now, Savage Avengers has been incredible, dude. Love that shit. It is legitimately really, really good. And if you're a fan of Conan, you should check it out too. Sabretooth stuff has been really interesting via, what's going on with Krakoa and all that sort of stuff. X-Men Red. Dude, X-Men Red is one of the best X-Men books I maybe have ever read. It is fucking phenomenal, dude. So cool. And some of the just hyped up X-Men stuff that they put into X-Men Red is absolutely incredible. I like Legion of X, Way of X, and like the way that they've sort of led into that. But I'm telling you right now, bro, X-Men Red is absolutely incredible. So, and I know there are people that still going back to it are like, no, modern comics bad. Modern comics woke. I don't like this shit. I'm telling you right now, shit has changed. Shit has changed. These books are dope, bro. They're incredible. And so I think we're at a place right now, like Immortal X-Men. Immortal X-Men is fantastic, dude. It is fantastic. I love all this shit with like the Quiet Council, all of these different things. They're very, very cool. Very cool concepts. If you like fun comic book Marvel-y stuff, I am telling you, they are using some of the coolest toys in the toy box, and they are doing very interesting things with these toys. The Miracle Man book, which I've started, and I'm not completely through, but yes, Miracle Man is crazy, and apparently they're doing some wild Miracle Man stuff with the Marvel multiverse. I don't know exactly what it's going to be, but it's pretty cool. And then this one. This is probably one of the most important ones here. Judgment Day. Judgment Day is one of the best Marvel events in years, and I agree with that. It spans all of these really cool books, and it uses a lot of the old X-Men lore. Like, this isn't just them saying, oh, yo, let's reinvent everything and let's retcon everything and now we're going to do this. No, like, this is a clever use of pre-established books and ideas from a long history of Eternals comics, X-Men comics, etc., to do some really interesting things. Like, it is really interesting. Judgment Day is really cool. And this is where Josh spreading the agenda. Brother, what agenda? That now Marvel comic books are really good? Yeah, I am spreading that agenda. Like, and look, I'm trying to give you a fair shake here, Mr. J, but you obviously strike me as the kind of person that was completely turned off. Dude, what are you talking about? Judgment Day was awesome. I love Judgment Day. You don't have to like Judgment Day, but saying it was trash is ridiculous, dude. Ridiculous. The Judgment Day ending sucked. The Judgment Day ending is just an opening for other crazy things that are going to happen. On top of all of this stuff, some of the other books that I think are absolutely fantastic are The New Avengers Forever. The New Avengers Forever is one of the most fun comics I've ever read. It is so damn cool. And they're doing this really interesting thing with this character known as Avengers Prime. It's brilliant, dude. The different villains, including this version of Doctor Doom that's the most evil, most powerful version of Doctor Doom I've ever read in comics. Fascinating character. I absolutely love it. The idea of the All-Rider, the idea of the Star brand, and a lot of the stuff that was leveraged in the Million BC era. And like the idea that like the Phoenix Force, the Odin Force, the Star brand, the Ghost Rider, and I'm missing one other one that I think it's the Eye of Agamotto. That these are all like intrinsic, powerful things that happen in every universe. It's fucking awesome. Like in the latest issue, Red Hulk as the Star brand goes head to head. I'm just gonna show you some of this shit. This shit is insane. Give me 1 second here. Just give me a second here. Oop, wrong one. Okay, I just want to show you a little bit of this. This shit is ridiculous. Okay. So you have Star Brand Red Hulk fighting against Doom, okay? And it's fucking awesome, dude. If you liked the Star Brand from either like New Universe or like Hickman stuff, I believe there's a lot of it done with what's the homie's name? Fuck, I'm blanking on it. He's one of my favorite writers, though. Not Morrison, the other crazy guy. And you've got this crazy fight, and then Doctor Doom literally turns him into a meatball. Like, look at this shit, dude. He takes the Star Brand Red Hulk and turns him into a gosh damn meatball. It's just fun, bro. It's just fun Marvel Comics shit, bro. Like, it's really fucking cool. I've been enjoying the shit out of this book. And I think they're going to pull from it for a lot of the MCU stuff that they're going to be doing really, really soon. So here's my point. Here's the whole idea. I think the move by Feige to juice up, let's just say juice up current Marvel Comics, make the ideas big, make the ideas bombastic, exciting, fun, and then to pull from some of the more recent books for MCU stuff, I think is a brilliant strategy. I really do. And I think it could amplify the fun and the sales of comics and keep comics as like this super important part of the entire workflow. I think that it could also create some really damn cool stuff in the movies. Like, I'm working on a video about the Cosmic X-Men and the idea of Judgment Day being brought in to what you have going on with Marvel. And if they do something like that, and they also take some stuff from the new Hickman X-Men, which, yes, I'm going to call it the Hickman X-Men, even though Dugan's writing it now, taking some of those ideas, putting them into the MCU is a cool fucking idea, because a lot of these ideas are dope. They're dope, bro. Very cool stuff happening in modern comics. That's what I'm trying to tell you. And so, you know, some people don't think it's that cool. They're like, no, pull from all the old stuff. It seems like there's a purposeful thing going on here where Feige's trying to amplify what's going on in comics, and then he wants to use it in the MCU to then amplify the draw to what's going on in Marvel Comics. And so I think, for instance, whatever's going to happen with the next big Jonathan Hickman event, which I do, again, think has to do with the first Firmament, I promise you, in the post-Secret Wars MCU, we're going to start to hear Feige talk about some really cool cosmic ideas, and a lot of the comics that are coming out literally right now are going to get revisited. We're going to go back to those stories. We're going to talk about those stories. We're going to want to read them to understand how Feige could be adapting this stuff into the MCU. And I think that is so much of a better way to do it than what had happened in the first three phases when it wasn't disconnected. And then the last point I want to say before we get into Q&A and you guys all trigger the fuck out of me, I hope that James Gunn does the exact same thing. DC Comics is about to reboot, do something really crazy next year. And I literally hope that a lot of the stuff that's either been happening at DC or that will happen at DC moving forward is adapted into the DCU, because I want both of the big two to have a thriving cinematic universe that enhances the comics. I want more people reading comics. I want more people going into comic book shops. That's what I want. And I think it would be brilliant if James Gunn started doing this and Kevin Feige started doing this. So sorry I had to spread the agenda, but that's how I feel. Okay, now let's get into the Q&A. Let's get into the Qs. Let's get into the A's. And then maybe we'll do some call-ins as well, okay? Hopefully we have enough time. Should have enough time. Should have enough time. Okay, I think we're good. Okay, let's go back up to the Tibby. Peter B. Parker, first in today, says, I was at the Bills game Monday from Buffalo. Wow. It was tragic. Super hyped for the playoffs and for Ant-Man, though. Also, I work weekends, ya butthole. Take my money. Hey, I appreciate it. Here's my question about the playoff picture, because I know, and I'll open up the chat so that you guys can tell me what's going on with this, okay? Get Rob on a call. Oh, I will. We will. We will. Isn't your shield... When you're a shill, isn't your job to spread the agenda? Oh, absolutely, man. Those shill checks, a lot of zeros on them. That's all I'm going to say. Yes, Rob! I need to text Rob. Okay, look. Here it is. Here's the truth. I'm horrible at communication. Rob gave me his number a while ago. I've been meaning to text him, but I'm really fucking bad at communicating. Okay? Yes. And we will. We will, Rob. I will text you. We will figure it out. We'll do collaborations. We'll do calls. We'll have a good jolly time. By the way, Rob, do you agree with what I'm saying, or do your fans demand a call? Do you want me to call you right now? Do you agree with what I'm saying, Rob, or are you like, nah, fuck that? Rob! Should we get Rob on the call? Let me see if I can find him on here. Wow, it's been a while since we called on Discord, bro. Oh, no. Where are you? Damn, it's been this long? No way. Okay, hang on now. Rob, are you picking up when I'm setting down? Or are you about to come in here and be like, no, and here's why you're wrong, and let's give him the chair? Like a WWE match. Where the fuck? If you can find our message, you can message me, Rob, and then I can call you on Discord. Bro, what? Hey, Proxy, welcome back, brother. Now I'm sitting over here just trying to find Rob's thing. Here's the problem. Okay, there he is. Okay. All right, I'm going to do a voice call, bro. Let's get the man in here. See what he has to say. Can't chat forever, though, because I do have to get to that appointment. But Yo, what's going on, man?
Not much, man. What are you doing?
Oh, just being bullied into giving you a call live, so doing that.
Yeah, trying to convince people that Avengers Forever is good. Dude, that story sucks.
No,
I could not
Rob,
get into it,
no,
man.
I can't believe you don't like that story. What don't you like about it?
I don't know, man. Like, as soon as they announced Avengers Forever, I was like, so they're basically reworking the old Avengers Forever story? Like, that'll be kind of cool. It was too boring to me, man. I couldn't get into it.
What? Okay, can I tell you why I like it?
Okay, yeah.
So,
give me the rundown.
Okay, so first of all, that one-shot issue with that Doctor Doom, right? I thought that was phenomenal. I was like, dude, this is twisted. And even in the most recent issue, he literally rips out the eyes of one of the Eye of Agamotto dudes, and it just looks brutal. So I really like that. As a big fan of Doom, I was like, that shit's sick. Also, they're doing like just the really bombastic multiverse stuff, but like I'm kind of a sucker for it, man. So like that one issue with that version of Nuke, who it's like this weird almost like Westworld room where they think they're being trapped, but they're actually being tested to join all the other Captain Americas and shit like that. I just think that's super fun. And I've just been enjoying it, man. It's definitely like style over substance, but dude, like I'm rereading the old Avengers Forever right now, and like, bro, I don't know. It's not as good as I remember, and I'm like, this is like a very convoluted, like ridiculous story. And at least this one it's very straightforward. So like I like it a lot, but apparently a lot of comic book people are not loving it, including you. So
no, well, I mean, one, I'm not current on it because, like I said, I dropped it.
Oh man, when did you drop it? Just out of curiosity.
I want to say I dropped it maybe 3 or 4 issues in. So I know about like the Council of Red, right? Like the Council of Mephistos and all that. I have no idea what they're doing with that. Yeah. There were elements of it that were like cool that I enjoyed. The idea of there being some kind of like multiversal team of bad guys that are led by Doctor Doom. That's cool, kind of, I guess, depending on the circumstance.
Yeah.
But it feels like in some ways they're retreading water. If I'm being honest with you, man, I thought that the story that Jason Aaron did in Avengers that leads into Avengers Forever, I thought that story was better than the Avengers Forever story.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not even really necessary. Like literally, that story just kind of shows Ghost Rider, Robbie Reyes, just like being yanked away by oh my God, what are the name of those androids, man? They call them like the multiverse cops.
The Deathlocks, right?
Oh, yeah, the Deathlocks, yeah.
Yeah.
So like it's like it basically explains how he got into Avengers Forever in the first place. And there were some cool things, right? Like the idea that Tony Stark in that, like when it picks up in that alternate reality, Tony Stark's Ant-Man in that universe, different things like that. And there were cool little things where he's like,
and he still drinks,
and
too.
an alcoholic.
Yeah.
He still drinks. And he's like, I thought about making an Iron Man suit, but I decided not to worry about it. I mean, there were some cool things there, some cool little throwbacks and whatnot. But I mean, to me, and I'm curious what your thoughts are on this. Like, to me, I do agree with what you were saying earlier about Kevin Feige just grabbing like stuff from modern day comics and putting it into the MCU. With the X-Men, it's a little finicky, right? It's a little weird. If anything, I think they're probably going to go with like Ultimate X-Men and some elements of the modern X-Men story. But I've been saying for months, right? For months, ever since word got out that like the new Avengers film was going to be Secret Wars, my initial thought was like, okay, so you have Kang the Conqueror, you have the multiverse. That's not going to be the Secret Wars that we originally knew back in 1984. That's going to be Avengers Forever by a different name. It's literally going to be just like a coming together of different versions of superheroes that we know from across the multiverse to fight Kang. That's all it's going to be. It's going to be cool.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but it's basically going to be like a combination of Avengers Forever and like the old Exiles comics. Sure. That's all it's really going to be. Which I'm excited about.
I like that. I mean, and I think you're right too. But there's some elements that I think are going to be carried over from the different Secret Wars. So it's really like a hodgepodge. But I think that the basic narrative structure of Secret Wars as a film, you're right. It's going to be a lot more like either Exiles or Avengers Forever in sort of narrative form, for sure.
I mean, here's a question I have for you. Do you think they're going to kill Kang at the end of all of it?
Dude, I mean, okay, so here's the thing. The ending of the Secret Wars movie, I think, will serve to kind of, it's not necessarily even a soft reboot, but like, you know, Paul from Heavy Spoilers is saying like he's kind of hearing that they're going to try to streamline some stuff. So I think that the ending is going to set the multiverse in a sort of different path, but I think that like, have you heard the stuff about like Eternity War and the Eternity Saga and the Timeless Saga? Because there were a bunch of trademarks that leaked last year around San Diego Comic-Con, and it seems like what they're going to do post Secret Wars is maybe doing a lot of the Al Ewing stuff, you know, maybe Eternity Wars, but also like they're doing Judgment Day in Eternals 2. So I kind of think they're doing something really big and cosmic. So like essentially Secret Wars, they might kill that Kang, but I don't think they're going to like, they can't kill all the Kangs. And I think essentially the multiverse will have even more problems after Secret Wars. So in like the same way that like Feige did Infinity Gauntlet, Thanos Quest, and then still kind of sets the MCU in this like rocky place where like a bunch of other problems can come in. I think Secret Wars is going to lead to even more problems essentially afterwards. But they'll kill the Beyonder Kang, I believe. Yeah.
Do you think so? Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know if you're following what Al Ewing's doing right now, but he's writing the Defenders Beyond comic, which I think is like, it's like part 2 in like his 3-part series. But he literally just rebuilt the entire Marvel cosmology, like the hierarchy of power. So I mean, with Kevin Feige being over top of like everything now, a part of me has to believe that a lot of what's going on in Marvel Comics at the moment is being done to kind of rework, restructure, and reshuffle everything so it can just be easily pulled from in like the Marvel Cinematic Universe itself.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. Because like even the older stuff that Al did, I think some of it comes into conflict with stuff that like Starlin did. and like Peter David and some of those like older cosmic stories. So I think that I think you're probably right. I guess here's the question for you. What do you think this next big thing that Hickman's doing is going to be about? Because it seems like Feige has a true affinity for Hickman, and of course, like, why wouldn't you if you're a big, comic book guy? He's like one of the best maybe ever. Do you think that's also going to tie into maybe like kind of the stuff, the cosmic stuff? Because it seems like didn't the announcement of it have like the shape of the first firmament or something kind of hidden within it?
See, that's the issue, man. That's why it's so confusing, because if this was 6 months ago, I would say, okay, Jonathan Hickman's going to rework the Marvel cosmic landscape, and that's going to set the stage for everything Feige's going to be doing, right? I mean, like, this is all stuff you know. I don't know if your fans know, but like, this is all stuff you know, right? Like the Coal Obsidian or the Black Order, whatever you want to call it, right? Corvus Glaive, Proxima Midnight, all that stuff. That's all Hickman,
right?
That was all from Hickman's Infinity.
Yeah.
A lot of what we saw Thanos doing in Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, a lot of that was pulled from what Hickman did. But in the last like 6 months to a year, ever since really San Diego of last year, Marvel's shifted up a lot of stuff. So they released a one-shot comic called like Death Notes or something like that with Thanos, where they reworked Thanos' entire origin. We know like there's the big upcoming event where Thanos gets like, it's nuts. I don't know how many of you guys are following the solicitations, those of you guys in the chat who are following this. There's some big major event coming up with Thanos where he has like Mjolnir, but he also has the Infinity Gems like
in Mjolnir,
placed
right?
Inside the hammer. Yeah, like in the hammer.
Yeah.
And then like he's leading an army of zombies and he's got the Destroyer armor. And it's these like just this crazy thing.
And that was teased out in the Timeless book, right? With Kang?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the weird thing, because every like in the last year, man, and surely you've noticed like Marvel's reshuffled everything, because like based on what Al Ewing is doing, for example, and you make a really good point that they might pull from his Marvel Cosmic stuff, because everything he's done with Defenders Beyond totally changes everything, because it does conflict with the old Jim Starlin stuff. And even before that, right, like back in the old Excalibur comics, it was like issue number 50 something, I think, that we learned that the Phoenix Force, before it ever showed up and took over Jean Grey, that basically it was tricked by some alternate reality version of the Sorcerer Supreme and almost destroyed the multiverse. Okay. And so you get like this whole kind of basis behind the Phoenix, and then you go into like Bizarre Adventures number 27 by Chris Claremont, which gives you like how the Phoenix first encountered Jean Grey. But you're over the years, right, different stories where even you read, I don't remember if it was an Excalibur comic, but it was the one where Rachel Summers, the daughter of Jean Grey and Cyclops from the Days of Future Past, where she fought Galactus as the Phoenix Force. So like over the years, you get this hierarchy where it's just like, okay, the Phoenix kind of sits right here.
Sure.
Right. And then you go into like the events of Secret Wars, right? Secret Wars 1 by Jim Starlin. Secret Wars 1 by Jim Shooter. Yeah. And then you get Secret Wars 2, and it establishes like the Beyonder is just this being that's second to like the one above all in power. Right, and you get these things here and there, right? You get like the Queen of Nevers in the land of Couldn't Be, Shouldn't Be, and like Dan Slott's Silver Surfer run. But you get like these things that are introduced, and then like Al Ewing comes along and he's like, actually, guys, so here's how things work. So basically, you have like the Beyonders. They were created by the Celestials in case like there was another war among the Celestials, and the Beyonders would have enough power to destroy them all. So that's where the Beyonders are. They're like,
so the Beyonders were created by the Celestials, and this is from the new Defenders book.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, dude. Okay. So yeah, this is where Al Ewing shifted everything up.
Yeah.
So we never had an origin of the Beyonders before.
Right.
The closest that we ever got to their origin was in the unofficial Secret Wars 3, which is a Fantastic Four one-shot. And basically it said like the Beyonders are just from beyond. They just exist out there beyond the multiverse, and like they can't really enter the universe. And so they did a few things here and there and led to the creation of some stuff. And there have been a few changes here and there. Then like there's what Hickman did with the Beyonders and the Beyonder and all that kind of stuff. So what Al Ewing did is he comes along and he says, okay, so in his run of Ultimates, there was the first firmament, the first universe. There was the war between the Aspirants and the Celestials. So basically like a holy war.
Yep. Right.
And the Celestials were kind of like, yeah, so you know all that. Like they were rebranded Aspirants. They were like, change, death, yada, yada, yada. So the war breaks out, destroys the first universe. That creates the first multiverse. And so what we're told in Al Ewing's Defenders Beyond is that as a safety measure, the Celestials created the Beyonders and granted them the power to kill Celestials if they needed to, if another holy war were to break out, if another celestial war were to happen again. Yeah, and the Beyonders have just existed in the second cosmos ever since. Now, I don't think he really does a whole lot to kind of explain or kind of consolidate Hickman's Avengers and New Avengers with what was going on there. No, yes he does. Yes he does. So what he said, he introduced something called the Crown, or what is it? The Enigma. That's what it was.
Okay.
It's a being more powerful than the one above all. That he basically, and I don't know how I feel about this, but he retconned Jonathan Hickman's entire Avengers and New Avengers, where instead of the Beyonders destroying the multiverse based on an experiment, the Beyonders were trying to wipe out all of creation so it could restart in order to avoid whatever it was the Enigma was going to do, which they didn't succeed, right? Because we know, at the end, Reed Richards recreated everything and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and so it's fucking crazy. So
it was
okay.
Nuts.
So just pause. Let me pause for a second. So okay, so essentially, does that then put the Celestials at a higher power level than the Beyonders?
No. So the caveat to this, and this is where Al Ewing's changing everything up. The caveat to this is the Beyonders were created with more power than the Celestials, which makes zero sense.
Right.
I don't know how you create a being that has more power than you.
Well, I guess that's kind of like Ultron a little, right? Tony kind of does that. But if you're a Celestial, it's a little different.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing. In the comics, Ultron just kept advancing himself. He just kept improving himself. So initially, he was just this robot that looked like a vacuum cleaner, which is Ultron 1. And then over the years, he started doing things like giving himself a body made of adamantium and so on and so forth. So he kind of improved himself. But from the word go, the Beyonders were created with enough power to destroy the Celestials. So in terms of the cosmic hierarchy, the Beyonders are still more powerful than the Celestials. But the purpose behind the Beyonders' creation has changed. Now, here's where things get crazy. Yeah. Here's where it gets nuts. Is as you know, ever since the original Secret Wars in 1984, the Beyonders are just next level, right? There's the one above all, the Beyonder or the Beyonders, and then everybody else, right? They kill the Living Tribunal. 3 of them kill the Living Tribunal in Hickman's Avengers and New Avengers. Probably one of the best moments. And
all the other cosmic entities too.
All the other cosmic entities,
exactly.
All the other cosmic entities. So what Al Ewing did is he's actually that's not the case. So what you have is in terms of the cosmic hierarchy, you've got all the cosmic entities, you've got the Living Tribunal, then you have the Beyonders, right? Above the Beyonders, you have the Phoenix Force, the White Phoenix of the Crown.
No way.
Which
They put the White
that's
Phoenix
never been the case.
Dude, what? Okay.
Yeah. Because there's literally a point in the comic when they're taken to the realm, to the White Hot Room, where the White Phoenix of the Crown resides. And the Beyonder, Loki, I think, is talking to the Beyonder or something like that. And he's like, can't we do anything? And the Beyonder's like, no, man. One, the Phoenix Force is already as powerful as I am. And then when you put the Phoenix Force in the White Hot Room where the Phoenix is at its most powerful, there's nothing I can do against that. And it's just what? That's crazy.
That's crazy.
So
yeah, that's a lot of power.
That's where the hierarchy is now. And then above the Phoenix, you have the Queen of Nevers, the land of couldn't be, shouldn't be, right? So any and all possibilities that exist, that's where the Queen of Nevers draws her power from. So she's there's her, and then there's the one above all, which Blue Marvel and all those guys, they all meet the one above all and Defenders Beyond. That's when the one above all is there's actually a being beyond me. Because literally the one above all is we're just other cosmic entities. We're just on a much higher level than any of the cosmic entities we know, or any of the cosmic entities you've ever met. And so he's above me is the Crown, right? The Enigma, which wants to just destroy everything. It's what Al Ewing's doing is crazy. Now, how much of that is going to be translated to the MCU? I don't know. I have a hard time believing that in Avengers Secret Wars, Kevin Feige is going to be and now the Queen of Nevers. I don't think that's going to happen.
No, well,
right? I don't know how much
that
this
probably
is going to translate.
Right. Well, that probably won't happen. But I do think, especially with them, taking some attributes of the Beyonder and giving them to Kang, and I'm not super clear on what that even means or looks like, but I think it's possible that the main villain Kang will talk about things beyond the multiverse or power beyond anything you could comprehend, and sort of he could open the door, because one of the things that Feige does really well is he sort of piecemeals things out for normies in the audience. So you kind of start the MCU learning about magic in this really subtle way, and then it's a little bit more here and there, and then all of a sudden, boom, Doctor Strange. And even multiversal stuff, he kind of piecemeals out, and then boom, now we're getting all this craziness. So I do actually think that in Secret Wars, they're going to begin to set up some kind of cosmic hierarchy, and something that will take us even further and even sweatier after Secret Wars. And I think that, it's funny you bring up the Phoenix Force, because I think one of the ways that they could amplify the X-Men in the MCU is to either have like reality warpers or have the Phoenix Force be something that's like very big and cosmic, like the true Dark Phoenix stuff, but also maybe combined with some of the stuff that Al Ewing's doing like right now to kind of like give it even more emphasis moving forward. I think he could pull from that.
Oh, that's 100% what they're doing. Like you hit the nail on the head. Because if you look at the MCU, say like the last 5 years of the MCU. Mm-hmm. So basically, when we really started going like into a fever pitch, like okay, Infinity War and Avengers Endgame is coming, guys, and like everything's about to pop off. If you look at everything that happened there, the MCU's been easing us into that stuff, right? Like Thanos' use of the Infinity Stones in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, sure, it was nowhere near what you would expect based on what we've seen from the comics, right? But that wasn't designed to be the case. Thanos using the Infinity Gauntlet, altering reality, manipulating time, that was designed to ease us into those principles. Because if literally Kevin Feige had just had a moment in Infinity War when Thanos just suddenly alters everything around them in the most insane way, like when he took the Reality Stone from the Collector in the comics, in the Thanos Quest storyline, and starts bending reality around the Collector, or if he had borrowed from the old Alan Davis Captain Britain stories with like Mad Jim Jaspers, where Jim Jaspers is just snapping his fingers and just altering reality around Captain Britain. Right. Like if he had done that, it would have overwhelmed the audience.
Right, exactly.
Right, but by coming along and having something where it's basically just like everything and nowhere looks okay, but actually it's all on fire, and like altering, Drax the Destroyer and turning him to like a pile of blocks. Like by doing small little things like that, it eases people into that concept. And then you go into like Sam Raimi's Doctor Strange 2 and the Multiverse of Madness. That builds on what Loki did by kind of introducing us to the multiverse, and then combines reality warping and the multiverse into one single movie. It's a staged process,
right? Exactly.
Right. It's literally kind of boiling the water, so to speak. So I think you absolutely nailed it. That seeing Wanda manipulate reality like we saw her do in WandaVision, that seeing that kind of stuff go on. By the time we get to Secret Wars, I think you're going to see some crazy stuff, just like some mind-boggling, insane things. And I think that when it comes to the X-Men, by the time they arrive on the scene, and by the time Kevin Feige and them are just like, and now it's time for the Phoenix Force, people are going to be like, what kind of crazy thing are we going to see from the Phoenix?
Yeah, dude.
Right, so you see Jean Grey in all white with red hair, and she's the white Phoenix in the crown.
Right, exactly.
And just messing with universes, that it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and it's like, it's going to be so much cooler than both versions that Fox did, because they kind of screwed up one of the best comic book stories ever, like twice. And so in order, I think, for Feige to like give it new like emphasis and I do think some of this more hierarchical cosmic entity stuff, like that could be sort of like icing on the cake, right? Like it just helps to get even the sweatiest of like comic fans to be like excited to see this version now that we know, etc. That second and the third. But let me just ask you like one just last question before I let you go, bro. So do you, just because like you're the comics guy, right? And so the case that I was making earlier was kind of like, man, all new, all different Marvel, real shaky, not great. And in many ways, I think Marvel's still suffering. But I do think that like since 2020, things have been getting much better. And I'm having more fun reading comics, Marvel comics right now than maybe any other time in recent history other than, the Hickman stuff when he was doing Avengers and New Avengers. Do you agree with that, or am I crazy?
Honestly, I wasn't really even against all new, all different Marvel. If anything, my disappointment came in the fact that Hickman's Secret Wars ended and it felt like it should have been a reboot, but It wasn't. So I kind of felt like a lot of comic book fans, I felt like I was duped, like I was tricked. It felt like the death of Superman in the 1990s. Like, it's this great, big, huge, crazy thing. It's like, actually, he's right there. And now he's back, and he's wearing a black suit with a mullet.
Just one thing, too, especially because they launched the new books before it's over. That was a huge mistake, I think, because, I know he was delayed on that last issue, but then to just launch, like, basically everything's back to normal before you even know how it's concluded was, like, a little rough, too. But, yeah, I'm sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, that's something that pissed everybody off. Like, was it Iron Man #1 came out before the ending of Secret Wars? Yeah. So everybody found out Doctor Doom survived and he got his face back.
Yeah.
And so people were just like, what are you doing, Bendis? Like, people were pissed. But no, when it came to All New, All Different Marvel, to answer your question, when it came to All New, All Different Marvel, honestly, I never really had a major issue reading it. There were some things I liked, some things I didn't. I thought Invincible Iron Man was awesome. I loved the character of Riri Williams and her introduction. Spider-Man was cool, but I felt like it was a little disappointing because it just kind of picked up where the last two volumes of Peter Parker's Spider-Man ended when he got his body back from Dr. Octopus. So there wasn't really any transition there. It wasn't a good starting off point because it was like, how is Peter Parker a billionaire and he's richer than Tony Stark? Well, you have to go read Superior Spider-Man. But to understand that, you have to go start with Spider-Man Big Time in 2006. So you got to read like 10 years of Spider-Man to understand what's going on. So that was a little irritating. But for the stories themselves, I enjoyed a lot of what was coming out. I still say, as controversial as it was, Nick Spencer's Captain America run was the greatest Captain America run that's ever been written, even going into like Secret Empire. It was the best Captain America run I've ever read. I loved it.
Yeah. That's a controversial take,
yeah,
though.
I mean, it is. It's a hot take.
It's a hot take. I mean, look, I actually like Secret Empire as well. But I think that, to me, man, just as somebody that's been, reading comics for a long, long time, I did feel like All New, All Different Marvel, it was, number one, I think just way too different than status quo, like too many changes all at once. And I also think there was this sort of, not necessarily completely shitting on the legacy characters, but all kinds of things were happening all at once that seemed to like glorify the characters that the baton was being passed to, while also kind of like pooping on the legacy characters, right? So like, Thor is a good example of this. Like, even though I think that Jason Aaron run is really cool, they do essentially make him unworthy and then just introduce the next Thor as being worthy. And there's even a lot of like sort of jokes and like fun that's being had at the expense of Thor, especially early on in the run with like his mom, Odin, even Jane to a degree is kind of like, doing that. Tony's like dead and then they elevate Riri. Captain America is turned into like a Hydra agent, and Sam is elevated as like, the hero. And I was just like, man, like this is just, it does feel agenda. It does feel pushy. And it was just, I think, poorly executed on top of possibly poorly conceived. So I don't know. For me, man, like All New, All Different Marvel was rough. And the fandom, I think, even though, you don't necessarily agree with a lot of that, I think a lot of the Marvel comics fandom did feel that way because the sales numbers completely dropped off. Like they were not well-received books by and large. You know what I mean?
Oh, I mean, well, here's the thing. So there were a few different reasons for that. One, it was the wrong decision to make at the time that they made it because the Marvel Cinematic Universe was never more popular than it had been at that point in time.
Yeah.
Right? Like it was building into Phase 3. We were going into Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. Like people were getting more into comics than they ever had. So when they go and they see, any one of those movies from the MCU and they want to read Iron Man, then they go to Marvel Comics and Tony Stark's, he's basically a hologram talking to Riri Williams.
Right.
That like people are just like, well, I mean, this isn't Tony Stark. Why would I read this? And they don't read it. Right. Because it's not the character that they want to read about. Right. So that's one of the issues ran into. But as far as I think the larger controversy regarding All New, All Different Marvels, it fell into two camps. The first camp is the one that I just talked about. People who went to the comics expecting one thing and got something else and just simply didn't buy anything.
Sure.
The second camp, I think, is people who were exceedingly attached to those characters and simply didn't want to see the characters change. And that makes sense. Right. Like if you go and you read the old letters pages back in like the 1980s, which you can find them. And if you go back and you check out the old like Flash comics or whatever, when Mike Baron took over the Flash after Crisis on Infinite Earths, that guy got nothing but hate mail because people who were fans of Barry Allen were pissed off that Barry Allen was gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, "Where's Barry? Like, we don't want we don't care about Wally West. Like, he's a sidekick. It doesn't matter to him." But then fast forward throughout like Mark Waid's run, which is kind of the landmark Flash run with Terminal Velocity and all that kind of stuff. Max Mercury being or at least the consolidation of like Jesse Quick and Max Mercury and all those guys tapping into the Speed Force by their own means. You go into all that stuff, right? And then you go into like Final Crisis. Barry comes back. You go into the New 52 and Wally West is gone. Wally West fans are pissed. So right, wrong, or otherwise, when people get into comic books, whatever the motivations are, people inevitably become attached to different characters. I'm like that. I love the X-Men. Right. I grew up on the X-Men. The X-Men got me into comics. I am a ride or die X-Men guy. Right. Like if I stop reading every Marvel comic, the X-Men will not be one of them.
Right.
I will always read the X-Men.
Yeah.
But even then, having read comics for like 20 years or over 20 years, I'm at a place now where I don't really get attached to characters in that way, because to me, it's like I look at all new, all different Marvel, and it's a breath of fresh air, because I've basically been reading the same kinds of stories for the same kinds of characters since Joe Quesada took over in 2001.
Sure.
And so it's just like, and even before that, going into the 90s, like, it's just been the same thing for like a long time. So when they come along with all new, all different Marvel, and they're like, actually, guys, Odin's son can't lift his hammer.
Sure.
And so Jane Foster's the new Thor, and Iron Man dies in Civil War II, which was a garbage story. Yeah. That was a terrible story. Don't get me wrong, but like, he dies in that story. So now Riri Williams is Iron Man, and Peter Parker's a billionaire, and this and this and that and that. I can get behind it, because looking at Jason Aaron's run on Thor, as soon as Jane Foster was reintroduced, he's like, she's got cancer, she's going to die. So my first thought is, she's not going to stay Thor forever. So if anything, this is just kind of a temporary series of stories that we get with Jane Foster until she kicks the bucket.
Right.
And that was it. Right. So it was, I mean, obviously she didn't. She ended up becoming Valkyrie. But the thing about it is I loved it because I saw it as a reprieve. I saw it as a breakaway from the comics that I've been reading for so long. Sure. But when you read comics long enough, the one thing you always learn is everything goes back to the status quo.
Right. Exactly.
Everything goes back to normal.
And here's the thing, to touch on that for a second, because I agree with you. Here's the only thing that I think was different with All New, All Different, because you're right. And this is one of the best things that comics does, is it's always like retconning stuff, reinventing it stuff. I mean, even the death of Peter Parker and Otto taking over was massively controversial, and a lot of people didn't like it.
Yes.
And, Wolverine dying, Professor X dying, like, these things happen in comics. I agree with you. But I think the thing that made All New, All Different just different than those other things was that they did like all that shit at once. They did it like
once. That's exactly it.
Yeah. And so if they had maybe spread it out a little bit, I think people maybe would have appreciated some of the twists. And also, you're right, it always goes back to normal. They always come back from the dead, and it always goes back to normal. But at the time, it was just so much that happened all at once. And I think it really turned fans off, because it was like, there's no reprieve. If I don't like status quo changes, there's no book for me, essentially.
Yeah,
so
that's
exactly, I think, one of the problems. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why a lot of people, that is why I think there was such a visceral reaction by the comic book fan base, or I wouldn't even say the comic book fan base, by some members of the Marvel comic book fan base to All New, All Different Marvel, was for that exact reason. Because, as comic book fans, by and large, we don't like it when things change.
Right. Not even costumes. We don't even like costume changes.
Yeah. Yeah, like we don't, comic book fans don't really like it when things change. And to a degree, I understand that. Like I said, I'm not really that adverse to change, but there are elements of things that I don't want to see change. Like when Hickman wrote the X-Men, I was like, okay, cool. So Xavier's the leader of the team. If he had been like, actually, Xavier's just that guy over there who appears sometimes, and the one who's actually leading the team and is playing the role of Xavier is Cyclops, I don't know how I would feel about that.
Sure.
One, because we've gotten that story already, and two, because Xavier leads the X-Men. That's how it's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. So there are elements, of course, where it's like, I don't necessarily know if I want to see those things change. But yeah, coming along and just being like, okay, guys, so we changed some things in Marvel Comics. Okay, what did you change? Everything.
Yeah,
like, it's
basically everything.
Yeah, it's like,
for sure.
And all at the same time. It's going to drive people nuts.
Yeah, so. For sure. All right, brother. Well, look, I'm going to let you go. I got to run through these super chats, and then I got to get on out of here. But I appreciate it. It was a good chat. We got to do it again soon.
Yeah, man. Text me, dude. Quit screwing around.
I will.
You can literally do it. You can literally do it like as soon as you get off this call, or you could do it right now.
I know, dude. I know. I will, brother. I will. All right, man. All right, take care.
I'll catch you later.
Yep. See you, bud. All right. That was a good nerdy conversation. A nice little detour for the stream. So I appreciate Rob, and I appreciate you guys bullying me into chatting with him. Here's the only problem. I've got to run through these super chats now, and we cannot do call-ins because I gotta get to the doctor's appointment. Okay, so let me pull this up, and let's tear through these super chats. Ugh. Pardon me, I'm such a pig. Andrew Anthony says, just want to wish you and the entire Nerd Ventures crew a happy new year. Looking forward to a great 2023. I appreciate that, Andrew. Thank you so much, man. Empire Comics says, yes, I've been reading since 91, and yes, they've been very mid lately. Now the movies influence the comics instead of the other way around. I understand. Interesting take. Jomrin, welcome to the Nerdvengers. Shane Griffiths, welcome to the Nerdvengers. You are a Nerdvenger now. Tim Warren says, newer Marvel not woke. Bobby Iceman just decided to go gay recently, didn't he? No, that was like years ago, dude. Like, that's what I'm saying is like, saying recently, I think, is where the bias comes in. Because that was like years ago. That was when Bendis was at Marvel, bro. Like, so you're just not, like, there's a bias that's created. And I understand it. I'm not saying, Tim, that you're like this horrible guy or whatever, because I think consumer behavior and the way you guys think about product, that a lot of that is on the company. So I'm saying that, like, it's kind of Marvel's fault still that you think this, but you're wrong. It's not recent. Much love, though, Tim. Much love. Mason says, my girlfriend is mad at you for getting me into Warhammer. Let's go! Dude, I bought some more Custody stuff last night. I couldn't help myself. By the way, we were watching Paul's video yesterday, and remember when I said, hey, Henry Cavill, is that a Warhammer shirt? Bro, it was a Custody shirt. He was wearing a Custody shirt. Anyway, yeah, much love, Mason. Pioneers Get the Arrows says, new comics are soulless. Same with the movies. We're facing an era of creative bankruptcy and IP mismanagement, and those in power completely disconnected. I think there's truth in what you're saying. But I'm telling you, bro, I am enjoying a lot of modern comics right now. That's the whole point of this stream. But I do understand where you're coming from. Jack says, with a 10 spot, says, for some reason, can't respond to the Q&A about reading comics. Been reading for the past 13 years. Started with the original Secret Invasion. Dark Reign was the highlight. Recent stuff, not as good. Well, dude, I mean, Dark Reign was kind of like all-time good, so it's hard to compare new stuff to that. Jack also says, I have gone back and read the classics like Civil War and Winter Soldier. Can't believe Donny Cates left Hulk and Thor with no explanation recently. I don't know that that's 100% true, but I like the Cates stuff. Like, I do. I like the run. Cates is definitely style over substance. He's not like a Grant Morrison. He's not a Jonathan Hickman, but he does bombast really well. He does just comic book fun really well. Dar Boyd with a 20 spot. Very generous. I appreciate it, man. Says, I don't read because there's no marketing for comics. I've never seen an ad for a new/ongoing comic series. No comics at Walmart, Target, etc. How is there an industry that survived despite no effort to market to its audience? I mean, comics has a myriad of problems as an industry. Again, I used to work in the industry. And you find out there's no fucking money in that industry, basically. And it's a damn shame because in the 90s, it was huge. You know, there are a lot of issues with comics. Marketing is one of them, but marketing, it's beyond just advertising. You know, I think you also have to make accessible product. A lot of comics are not accessible. So there are multiple issues with it, but I do think they're trying to address it. Darth Sib says, thanks for the dad advice on Nerd Theory. What Marvel comics do you recommend for noobs? I always say going through the big Marvel events is a really, really good way to do it. So I mean, you've got a ton of them, man. Secret Invasion, you know, Siege, Avengers vs. X-Men, you know, even Secret Empire. There's like been a ton. So go look up big Marvel events in order, and then you can kind of start doing that. I always think that's a good one. Or just find a character that you really like. Like if you're a big Spider-Man guy, maybe you're a big Gambit guy. Just literally go to the Google machine and say, what are the best Gambit comics? Or what are the best Spider-Man comics? And then you read through it. I tend to really like particular writers, so I'll like go read a bunch of, Grant Morrison stuff. Or I'll go read a bunch of Hickman stuff. So you can do it that way too. Josh Power, welcome to the Nerdvengers. You are a Nerdvenger now. Lars says, I know it's not Marvel, but I'm watching through The Boys right now and couldn't find any, so I assume not. You got any watch parties for it? Oh, no, we don't really do watch parties for The Boys. Maybe that'll change. But not for now. Empire Comics with a 5 spot says, I got into comics when I was 15 and 91. Back then, you just jumped into it. If you liked a particular comic, you would just hit the back bends. Yeah, I got you, and I understand it, but it's still not as accessible as a lot of other media. No, Vagar, no! Welcome back, brother. Happy to have you back in the tower. Darth Shib says, by the way, prayers for little Liam. Hope he's all good. I appreciate the prayers. I think he will be fine. He's not even showing any crazy symptoms. We may have caught something early. We're going to go see. Chibbawiz says, I think Marvel as a whole should focus on making comics about the younger gen. Apart from the Young Avengers, they aren't really iconic as much. Yeah, it's a tricky one, though, because you got to do what works. You got to do what sells. So it's hard because, like, a lot of the comic readers are old farts like me. You got to kind of appeal to us. But I hear you. Empire says, us in the comic book spec world for the past 2 years have known that the new material is what the future movies will be about, more or less. Yeah, and it's kind of fun, huh? Josh Power says, hey, Josh, been watching for a year now and finally became a member. Been reading comics using comic book reading orders, master reading order since June. Wow. Awesome. Well, first of all, thanks, man. Appreciate the support, and that seems like a cool resource. Comic book reading orders, master reading order. Interesting. Andrew says, I'll be thinking of you, Joshy, while I watch my Brownies whoop your Steelers Sunday. Want to make a little bet? Oh, hell nah. I'll make this bet. If the Browns beat the Steelers, I'll tell you this. If the Browns beat the Steelers, it's going to suck. But if the Dolphins lose and the Patriots lose and the Browns beat the Steelers, I'm going to lose my fucking mind. Moving right along. Charlotte says, hey, Josh, been a Nerd Venture for a year plus. Kiwi, one member on here. Nothing but appreciation to my fellow Nerd Ventures. Take my money. Hey, I appreciate it. Appreciate it, Kiwi. Jack De La Sola says, Gary Dugan currently writes X-Men, not Hickman. I know, Jack. Is that a thing, by the way? Do you think does everybody get butthurt that everybody calls it Hickman X-Men and he's not writing it anymore? Do you think that's a thing? Chat, let me know. Do you think that's a thing? Old Head Mike says, watched Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 last night, and Eternity was mentioned. True. Also, the You Shouldn't Have Killed My Mom and Squished My Walkman sequence is my favorite in all of the MCU. Yeah, that movie definitely has some very cool redeeming parts. 100%. It's not my favorite MCU movie. I like the first one better, but it's aight. Martin says, Secret Wars isn't going to be a celebration of superheroes. It's going to be a celebration of made-up genders and different races. Oh, no! Wouldn't they just call that, like, Woke Wars or something like that? They don't have to call it Secret Wars. Seems like a mismatch. Comics Explained says someone mentioned Jonathan Hickman. My man. No, Vagard, no! Says, I'm back. Proxy's back. Tim Warren with a 20 spot. Thank you, brother. Says, I spent 37 months in prison for basically the entire pandemic. My friends and family got me a gang of graphic novels when I was in the Slammer and fell in love with comics again. I have both comic apps. Where do I start? Oh, bro. I mean, that's, first of all, I mean, that's, I have so many thoughts about this. Like, you were in prison, but kind of all of us were in prison at that time. It's kind of weird, dude. We were all, yeah. The other thing, getting a gang of graphic novels and having the fam get you back into comics, that feels like a big silver lining to like doing your time and, paying your debt to society or whatnot. And, I mean, where do you start with the apps? I mean, there's Comixology, which now sucks, used to be cool. Marvel Unlimited. Does DC have like an unlimited thing? I don't know. But as I always say, man, I think the big events are the way to go. Even at DC, I think that's a good way to go. Seen Jane Go TV says, you and Rob need to do a weekly podcast similar to Nerd Theory. Type Y into the chat if you agree. I mean, that would be really cool, for sure. Rob and I have talked about collaborations a lot, but I got to text him so that we can actually talk about collaborations. Galen Merrick says, listen to the chat and talk to Rob once a month. Nerd Vengers and 420, Nerd Vengers for life. Appreciate you, bro. And I agree. Hell yeah, man. I love talking to Rob. Viewers, let's get those likes up. Come on, says Sajid. I appreciate you, brother. Mr. J. Westman says, smash the like button. Happy New Year's, chumps. Hey, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you, man. I really do. Okay, guys. So, no call-ins today. I'm sorry that gambling's not working. I don't know what the deal is with the chat or the cloud bot. I tried to reset it again, and it's not working. So, I'll work on that, and we should get it up and running by next week. Nerd Vengers Prime stream at 1. It's going to have to be real short. I'll go live with the Prime members. It's going to have to be pretty freaking short. And then we got to move on. Tomorrow at 10 a.m., if you are a Nerd Venger member, we're watching Star Wars Rebels. It's going to be really fun. We'll watch some particular episodes, and we'll comment on all the dope things that could be going on in the Ahsoka show. All right. Much love, guys. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video. Is everybody gone? Did everybody leave? Hey, that was a good one, man. That was a good one, man. That was a really fun, nerdy conversation with Rob. Love talking comics with Rob. And I mean, come on. We have a stream where we're talking about modern comics, and we get maybe the greatest comic book YouTuber on the internet to come in and give his take. That's a W. That's a W. So I appreciate y'all. Much love. I gotta get out of here. Open up your third eye. Wash out your butts. I'll see you later.